Next up is Vice President for Education. So if those candidates would like to pop up.
I don't like this person. Guys, Joe, make sure you really, yeah.
Where's Dan? There he is. Yeah, make sure when you ask answering the questions that you're in front of a mic. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Right. First up, we've got Dan Sean Huisman. Huisman. Sorry.
Hi guys, my name is Dan Rashawn and I'm running to be your Vice President Education. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself which highlights why I'm the strongest candidate for the job. I spent a year as Bowling College President, during which time I was an elected member of Academic Council. Here I took part in discussions and gave feedback on relevant academic issues such as hidden course costs and a library. Also as President, I sat in the University Disciplinary Committee, where we discussed certain academic issues, such as plagiarism and the misuse of the library. As President, I worked closely with college advisors within my college, and also advised students on personal academic issues. During my time on the JCR, I also ran 2 employment sessions with the help of Bowland and County SCR, focusing on how to improve your employability with the help of on-campus projects such as the Lancaster Awards. As pro bono officer of the Law Society, I worked closely with Involve, organising projects with schools. I also ran employability sessions for convicts in different prisons. As a LUSU counsellor, I have sat on the Library Users Forum and have also attended meetings with the music students. These are the things I've done which relates directly to the role. However, I've also gained other valuable experiences which I think will assist me in this role. I have experiences in organising large-scale campaigns and events, such as organising Bowland's first Sell-Out Extra and organising a charity auction which raised a huge amount of money in a short time, for which I was awarded the Student Officer Initiative of the Year Award. I have experience in leading a team, from leading a relatively small team with Bowland JCR to leading a large team which included catering, security and LUSU staff at Bowland Extra. There's a little bit about me, and now I'll talk about what I would like to do if elected. The university already runs career advice and services through such departments like SEEK. However, I believe that it doesn't work closely enough with LUSU and could be more publicised and made more widely available. Furthermore, I believe that there is a large cohort of students who are overlooked, who do not benefit as much from the career services provided, those who are predicted to get a 2-2 or a 3rd. I dispute the thoughts that if you do not come out of university with a 2-1 or a 1st, then you will not get a job. I will implement career sessions for those who are predicted 2-2s and 3rds, as well as making sure that the career fairs held at the university have employers who will consider students with a 2-2 or a 3rd. In regards to the library, I will campaign for more computers, plug sockets and printers. Wireless printing is possible in the library, but hardly any students know this, and this needs to be better advertised and explained. It is now time for a 24-hour library at Lancaster, and there needs to be improved eating facilities in the library. There needs to be standardised feedback across the university for coursework and also exams. It is no longer acceptable for students to be given inadequate feedback when they are paying $9,000 a year. I can see no reason why decent feedback is not given with exams, enabling students to improve year by year. Regardless of how much you are paying for fees, hidden extra course costs must be addressed. Students should not be coming to university only to find out that when they are here they have not finished paying. Course costs should be more transparent, and departments need to be made aware of exactly how much they are asking their students to pay. I am against the closure of the music degree, and especially against the reduction of the staff. It is ridiculous that the university is demanding extremely high grades from students whose passion is music. I will fight to keep the same number of staff on who teach this degree, and I will fight for compensation for the students if they are no longer getting the high-quality degree that they paid for. This is why I will be driving as many people as possible to the general meeting on Tuesday.
1 minute.
The Department Rep Conference was a great initiative, but this now needs to happen at the beginning of the year, when the reps have just been elected and not when they are halfway through their term. Removing faculty reps from LUSU Council was a mistake, and I will bring these back. One of the key issues I have found which face specifically international students is plagiarism. There needs to be more support and guidance given to students on this issue from the beginning of the year. Finally, Wednesday afternoons need to stay free for extracurricular activities, and exam timetables need to be made earlier. Thank you for listening, and I will happily answer any questions. Vote Dan to be your education man.
And next up we have Ellie Lawrence. You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. Through my role as the President of the Law Society, I have represented law students and other members of the Law Society on a large scale. This has allowed me to gain a really valuable perspective of the average student and is something I want to expand to the wider student population. In this role, I've had regular communication with LUSU. I've worked closely with the Law Department, arranging open days and discussing various issues with the lecturers and students, such as anonymisation of essays, which I've persuaded the law school to look into. I have also attended a FAST meeting to combat the lack of student representation. Within the Law Society, and through my role as the campus representative for the College of Law over the last 2 years, I have built connections with various other departments and departmental societies. This has allowed me to see that the areas that need changing are replicated across the university. I have put in place both a careers dinner with law firms and a trip to London to see firms. I have also significantly increased sponsorship from law firms for the Law Society. My 3 points for improvement are careers, communication and consistency. I think there is a widespread lack of awareness of career options, both for degrees where there isn't an obvious career option or for those who don't want to go into the obvious choice. I think this can be improved by utilising alumni. LUSU Involve want to start tracking alumni on a large scale, allowing students to see various career options those who have studied their course have gone on to do. I will ensure that the alumni tracking system and LUSU Involve as a body have my full support. Potential career options for each degree programme is present on SEEK's website, but very few people are aware of it, and it's not as detailed as it could be. It's also very outdated. Actual tracking of alumni and forums could develop this concept further. I want there to be a greater presence of smaller companies on campus. This again could be partially done through utilising alumni who may be more willing to come to Lancaster. Within this, I want to develop careers guidance for non-obvious careers. This has been started by the current VP for Media and Communications with Make It in the Media workshops. I want to utilise the connections that LUSU Involve already has with companies to make this development a reality. Aside from this, I want to create an online timetable that could hopefully be incorporated into iLancaster. Departmental societies, departments, SEEK, LUSU Involve and JCRs could log on and input various career events that are happening across campus, making students more aware and creating one place to find out all relevant information. Within communication, I think many students don't know who their student reps, faculty reps, career officer within the department or careers person in SEEK are. This clearly needs to be changed so students are aware of who they can talk to should they have an academic issue. I propose to have boards in every department, hopefully with pictures, but at least with information on how to contact the various bodies. This isn't currently available across all departments. Standardisation is needed. SEEK have recently started consulting students more with regards to what careers workshops they want. Student consultation needs to be increased further so careers workshops can be more specific and catered for students' individual needs. The Management School are starting a forum and regular meetings for students recognised as being part of a body that utilises their time at university. Students that work for LUSU, departmental societies and student reps are part of this. This encourages communication of ideas and regulates these bodies to an extent. I want to replicate this in other faculties through greater communication with these bodies. There needs to be more accountability within departments and for department reps. This could be done partly with more regular reports, so the same issues aren't raised year upon year. Student reps need more training and support. Although this has been improved this year, it still has a way to go. I will ensure this is a top priority and student reps feel that they are properly supported. Academic officers within JCR's remit needs to be clarified.
30 seconds.
Within consistency, there needs to be a detailed, isolated guide to referencing. There needs to be a standardised code of practice for feedback. The obvious continuous problems are also of great importance to me. Longer hours in the library, more plug sockets, more resources, both electronic and hard copy, and greater facilities for disabled students and those with learning difficulties. Wednesday afternoon timetables need to be kept free. These are things that are consistently raised in manifestos, but rarely actually get done. For a top 10 university and students paying £9,000, this is simply not good enough.
That's time. Thank you. And finally we have Joe O'Neill. 5 minutes when you're ready.
Thank you. Since we're allowed to run on slates this year, I was going to come up with a big box on my head, but I don't think the Ron slate's the best one to go with. Right, thank you all for coming along. My name's Joe O'Neill and I'm running to be your VP Education. Now, too often people run for FTO and, you know, we get all of the buzzwords every year. If you're still playing the drinking game, get ready to drink. Representation, change. I mean, last year the big one was transparency. The irony, of course, of transparency being used when if you get elected you disappear to something we actually call the bunker. You couldn't even write it. Right. I'm running because I don't think that's good enough and because I believe that we need a change you can see. I want a library that's fit for use, and that includes a library with the correct number of plug sockets, network points, you've heard it twice before, sufficient resources, and of course the biggest key point, a 24-hour library. We're in an increasingly small cohort of universities that don't have a 24-hour library, and it isn't good enough, to be honest. I want a university-wide code of practice for feedback so that no matter what department you're in, there's a minimum standard that you can expect, and that includes a push towards more anonymous marking. But we also need to make sure that we support our postgrad teaching staff, who often take the majority of the flak for any problems with feedback, by lobbying the university to give them proper support and guidance in implementing that code of conduct. We need careers workshops which work for you. And they need to be run alongside LUSU Involved that provide opportunities that are relevant to all students across campus. I mean, just yesterday, Bailrig had a speaker in from the Bay FM. These are small, simple, easy things to do that are easy to set up and engaging, but most of all, interesting opportunities for students to take advantage of. So those are just some of the things that you'll see straight away, but they aren't the only wheels that need setting into motion. We seem to have accepted £9,000 fees as the default and acceptable, and it isn't. You know, couple that with the constantly rising entry grades that we have when we keep trying foolishly to compete with the likes of Oxford and Durham and Cambridge, and it's no wonder that we see that history applications are down by as much as 49%. We're a university that built an excellent reputation on pushing against the elites without being elitist, and we've lost our way in that. We need to recognise what we are and what we're best at. We're a high value added uni where anyone can get on, and we need to fight to bring that back. We need better access agreements and stronger negotiations on grants for students from lower income backgrounds to ensure that Lancaster is as accessible as possible to the widest possible community. And there are also questions to be asked over who exactly is a member of our union. Currently, if you're on a year abroad or a year in industry, we relegate you to associate membership status. If anyone needs the help and support of their union, it's someone in a foreign country far from home. So this is something I want to investigate alongside whoever's elected for union development, and we must have proposals put forward to Union Council or a general meeting within the year. And the National Student Survey, the way this university plans for the future, it isn't fit for purpose. This is a group of students who've already left. We need a system of constant consultation between course reps, students and the academics who deliver our courses, and we need to minute those meetings so that people are held to account. I also want faculty reps back on Union Council to ensure their voice is heard and that they're made to feel just as integral a part of LUSU as JCRs and CCOs. The LUSU strategic plan itself says that we have to invest in our department rep system, and that's exactly what I intend to do. So that's what you'll get if you vote O'Neill for education. You get forward-thinking plans, you get ideas that benefit you, and most of all, you'll get a change you can see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. Right, questions from the floor. Oh, crikey. Right. Steve, Ronnie, Joel, Becky.
Thank you. Okay, I've got two questions, sorry. My first question is for all candidates, and with regards to university strategy, what do you think is most important? 1, 10 or 100?
Right, that goes to Dan first, please.
Could you repeat the last bit, please?
With regards to university strategy, which do you think is most important? 1, 10 or 100?
Are you referring to where we should be as a university in league tables?
The idea of 1, 10, 100 is first in the Northwest, top 10 in the UK and top 100 internationally.
Right. I believe we should be aiming for 1 and we should be aiming for 10. We should also be aiming for 100. I want to graduate from a university which is a top 10 university, which is recognised by employers as a top 10 university in the country. Top 100 is going to be difficult with the increasing universities in Brazil and other developing countries. It is going to be difficult. I think we need to aim for 1, 10, 200 at the moment. I don't think our degrees should suffer, so I don't think our applications should decrease because of this, however. That's me done.
Okay, thank you. And next to Ellie, please.
I think it's widely recognised that we're a big player in the Northwest and we can definitely compete on that level and have done so for a long period of time. I think we're consistently pushing in the top 10, but the university needs to be realistic about what that means and what bracket we're trying to place the university in. The 100, of course, has been recognised as much harder, although we're consistently developing more international connections. So I would personally say 10 might be more important, but it needs to not be at the risk of students and the university trying to contend against other universities and change what Lancaster is in the image. But I think Lancaster itself has the great potential to be in top 10 university. Sorry.
No, you're right.
But not at risk of trying to compete against Oxford and Cambridge, which I don't think it can.
And that's time. Thank you. Joe.
I think top in the Northwest, completely doable. Top 10, again, I preferred it much more when we felt a bit more like a cavalier insurgent into the top 10 than just an accepted member of the status quo. Top 100, again, very, very difficult to do. We're currently in the top 200, I think, but we won't be there for very long unless we do something about applications here and actually have a long-term strategy for the university. We're looking at that by having campuses in Lugana, that name's now been registered, and Guangzhou in China with space for 10,000 students, including accommodation. That's something we need to look at to internationalise. That'll help cement us in the top 200, but for the foreseeable future, top 100 looks to be out of our reach somewhat.
Thank you. Your second question, Steve?
Thank you, candidates. My second question is just for Dan. Now, Dan, I think you've been a fantastic officer and I think you were brilliant as Bolton president. But I'm not sure if I believe that you're the right person for this job. Through reading through your interview, your bell rig interview and your interview in Scan, your idea of 2-2 workshops for people who are aiming for 2-2s and thirds, I don't think the university would support this. I don't know how many students would self-select to be part of that. I think that we should focus on all students and the issues around them not achieving what they should be doing, as opposed to just parceling them and pigeonholing them into 2-2s and 3rds. A cafe in the library, do we really need more competition on campus when our college bars are already struggling, Subway's on the way and Diggles has just moved out? And college membership fees isn't really an issue for the VP education per se, but you've mentioned it anyway, so I think they play a really vital role in financing our collegiate system at a time when there have been government cuts and we're currently cutting courses on campus. So, how do you think we could actually be able to fund a collegiate system in the future without this sort of vital funding? I don't feel that you have the knowledge, experience, ideas or passion for this role, and how would you refute this claim?
Dan.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I'll split it into 3 parts, 2-2 third, campus cafe and college membership. I've only got a minute, so I'll try to be quick. 2-2s and thirds. Whatever happens, students are still going to come up to this university with a 2-2 and a third. I was still focused on all students, but there's while I've been campaigning and while I've been coming up with thinking about going for this position, I spoke to students, and that's one thing they've all told me. They've told me that when they're predicted for a 2-2 or third, they feel like they've got no hope, and I think it's important that as a students' union, we show support. I've looked into it. There's brilliant graduate schemes which still accept 2-2s, like Silver Surface. Cafe in the library, I think it is needed. I think now that we can't eat in the learning zone anymore, I think there needs to be somewhere to eat, to relax. When you're doing work, you can't, it helps some people to eat and have a break. College membership fee, it is not part of my remit, but I have drawn up a plan which, if asked, I will answer about.
Thank you. Next question is from Ronnie, please.
Okay, this is a question for all 3 candidates. I just want to know now. I want each of you to name one policy, one thing you'd like to achieve, and explain to me specifically, with reference to all the relevant procedures and committees, how you would achieve them.
Okay, that goes to Ellie first, please.
So, with employability being new in the remit, that's what I'm going to focus on. I think I'm going to pick for the greater awareness of career options. And I think that this is a communication issue. I think with regards to all the different bodies and the groups that are going through, it needs to be filtered down the system, the knowledge of the different career options, so that every person within the colleges and the departments can assist a student if they ask the different career options. And through using alumni, I'm not sure it's as much of a procedural issue that needs to be raised in all the different committees.
10 seconds.
But through using alumni, I think that it could be something that is really done properly.
Thank you. And to Joe, please.
All right, I'll take the library, the 24-hour library. I would first put a motion to Academic Council. Academic Council would then send that to Union Council. I'd also use consultation with the Library Refurb Committee. That would then go to Senate, where we would try and lobby the university. They'd obviously fight that, so the whole time you're doing that, you have to be running an awareness campaign in the square, getting people to sign up. And it's also useful to talk to non-student members of Senate, Joe Thornbury, Gavin Brown, people like that, to actually push it through.
Thank you. And finally to Dan, please.
I was going to say the library, so I'll go with plagiarism. Again, it needs to go to, the policy would be on mandating, would be on asking the university to give more support for plagiarism and give more advice. So it would go to Academic Council first, then to Union Council, it would then hopefully go to Senate. Again, I need to address exactly what the issues are with plagiarism before bringing this forward.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Joel, please.
Hello, hi guys. As you know, or should know, there's a Senate effectiveness review going on. What is your preferred option or outcome of this review, and why? And sort of a second part to that question, how would you ensure that the student voice is heard in Senate with the outcome?
Okay, to Joe first, please.
Yeah, with the Senate effectiveness review, it looks like we're going to have a smaller Senate regardless of what we do. So we have to be able to fight to make sure that we have an equal proportion of students, even on a smaller Senate. How would we do that? Again, by having a strong student voice on the current Senate and lobbying non-student members to stand up for us as well.
Okay, thank you. And to Dan, please.
I'd first fight to keep Senate the size that it is. If not, there needs to be the same proportion of students on Senate. This year especially, students on Senate have been much more focal and effective, so there needs to be a strong representation of students. Yeah.
Thank you. And Ellie.
I would prefer for the student representation not to be diminished, but if it does, then obviously I want it to be proportional still. I think the student voice is really important, and if it has to be reduced, then the students should have the same amount of active input that they're having at the moment. And I think the way to do that is to make sure that the channels of communication are there, they speak to the rest of the student body, and they're representing the student body for everyone else, and they continue to have active presence.
Thank you very much. Our next question is from Becky.
Hi, I'm going to annoy everyone by asking 2 questions, if that's okay, but they're like short ones. Firstly, you all mentioned the idea of a 24-hour library, but no mention of the welfare issues that that's going to bring up. How are you going to ensure that students using the 24-hour library are going to remember to eat, are not going to overdose on caffeine, and are not going to overwork themselves and generally be very unhealthy?
Okay, that's going to Dan first, please.
At the moment, we have a 24-hour learning zone. There was an issue there where students were not eating properly. They were eating takeaway foods, drinking loads of energy drink. There is always going to be students who are going to be overdosing on caffeine, having too much. At least if you're in the library, you've got library staff who can keep an eye on things like this. With a cafe in the library, it would mean at least there's somewhere easy accessible, always open to get food and to get a coffee, a drink. There also needs to be water fountains in the library to ensure that people are getting enough water.
Thank you. And to Joe, please.
Overworking. Overdosing on caffeine and eating badly is generally what students do, and it would be great if we could get everyone to take lovely packed lunches into the library, but alas, we can't hold everyone's hand as a union if they can't look after themselves, which I'm a great example of not being able to look after myself. Then there's not much we can do, I'm afraid.
Okay, and to Ellie.
I think all we can do is spread the message that it needs to be done, have some posters up. Cannot be said that's not always the most effective way of spreading a message to students, but if there are posters throughout the library with these reminders on, hopefully it could have some impact. And if there's places where they can buy food, it would have to be looked at what shops are open, because Spa has long hours, but it would be difficult if there wasn't anywhere to actually buy food.
Thank you. Second question? Yeah.
This is more of a personal question. I don't want a grad scheme and I don't want to volunteer for my entire life. What kind of careers advice are you going to give for people like me?
Okay, can that go to Ellie first, please?
I think there's so many career options out there, as my whole thing is, that students don't know about. It's exhaustive, and through using alumni, I know I keep going on about alumni, but I do think that our alumni is so varied, and the career options they've gone into are that, and if you make clear all the different choices, and it's not like if you study this, you've got this, this and this choice. It's for everyone, these are the choices that you can go into. And for using smaller companies coming in as well, I think that will expand the choices that are hopefully available to students. So I think a lot of students don't want to go into the big typical companies or grad schemes. So.
Thank you. And now to Joe, please.
Yeah, I think we're currently in the top 5 for student employability in the UK. But I've found that it's very much varies on what department you're in. If you're in LUMS, you tend to get great careers advice and career support, which is great. We've got one of the best in the country for the management school. But we need to look at different places. Like, for example, you're told either be a teacher or a curator or do a master's or... don't know really. That's not good enough. We need to actually have a variety of careers help with vibrant speakers and stuff that interests people. That's the main problem we have, is people think that we just have kind of dull CV workshops. We need to interest people and engage them.
Thank you, and to Dan.
First, I'd obviously ask you, what is it you want to do? You probably do have some idea. We'd then look at the degree you're doing. What degree you're doing? How can that help you? Is it something you're interested in? What are you interested in? And then it's again offering the options to you. Maybe you're someone who wants to start their own business. Then I'll refer you to Enterprise and LUSU. It just depends on what you yourself want to do and what you're passionate about.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Liz, and then, oh my goodness, right, okay. We've got Erica, Charlie, Simi, Rich, and Matt, okay.
Hiya. This question comes from the fact that, I don't know if the candidate's aware, but someone from the law department sent me internal mail with kind of like a report that Ellie and her team, her exec on the Law Society, had done, just because she wanted to thank you for everything that you had been doing with the Law Society in terms of employability and things like that. And this was quite a few weeks ago, and I was really impressed to read it. One of the big things, I think, we're 2 years in, and obviously I see Richard on a day-to-day basis, but a lot of the work he does is with students individually. And as we've already touched on before, some of the work that obviously the student reps do isn't highlighted as much as some of the JCRs, and I wanted to know how you guys personally would publicise all that you're doing as an officer and all the the problems people face, because I think a lot of people aren't sure of what's going on behind the scenes in your role.
Okay, that's to Joe first, please.
See, I think everyone's expecting me to go social media now, but that's a really crap answer. As CCO Democracy, I've gone out of my way to go and meet JCRs and actually get involved with people, with you, because I'm one of the only CCOs I know that goes regularly to JCR meetings. In fact, I had to stop because I'm running, obviously, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to go and talk about democracy when I'm kind of running. That's the best way, is to actually get involved with people on a one-to-one basis and on a team basis and go and talk to people. It's great publishing on Facebook or a blog or tweeting, but if you don't meet people, then your job is completely pointless, to be honest.
Thank you, and then to Dan, please.
Hopefully, by what I'm doing, will advertise what I'm doing. I'm hoping that everything I do, students should know about. Students will notice, they'll see a real change when whatever I do happens. In regards to the smaller things, lots of small things do happen behind the scenes. If students want to know about this, then yes, I could publish it on my LUSU Facebook page. But I think going out and actually doing things, and hopefully students should see the change and then know that that's what's being done.
Thank you. And Ellie. Sorry.
I agree, obviously, that it's very valuable to talk to people face to face. I've found through my role with College of Law, it's so hard to get people to listen to anything, but when you're actually talking to them. But I also think departments can be used more. I've used the law. There's some scary lecturers in law, and if you get them to tell students about some information, they'll pay more attention than if I'm wandering up to them. Departmental societies and just general societies are underused through the communication that they broadcast. A lot of them have weekly meetings, or if they don't, they have some process that they get in touch with their members, and if it's through that and you're already engaged in that society, then you're probably more likely to pay attention.
Thank you. Our next question's from Erica, please.
Hardy. In recent weeks, NUS released 2 important reports for postgraduate students, one on options for funding for postgraduate talk programs and one about the exploitation of graduates who teach. The NUS survey revealed that approximately 1/3 of research students who are employed as teachers are earning under the minimum wage. I was just wondering what your awareness was of these two important issues and what you thought you might do about it if you were elected. Thank you.
Thank you. That goes to Dan first, please.
I'll be completely honest, I have not read those two reports. However, I believe, especially the second one, if you're doing a job, then you need to be paid above the minimum wage. Especially as you're at university, you need to be if you are doing a job, you need to be supported so that you can live. Postgraduate degrees aren't cheap, and that if you are being paid, you need to make sure you're being paid the right amount. However, I will be honest, and I will say that I have not read the reports.
Thank you. To Ellie?
I am aware of these issues. I haven't read all the details of them, but I have had a brief look at them. I still think that postgraduates is an area that needs to be focused on, and I think there's a general lack of support in all universities. Well, I can only speak for Lancaster, but I assume so based on these reports, that students are quick to complain about postgraduate teachers sometimes. They don't actually take into account the level of support they get, obviously how much they're getting paid. And I think the university needs to make sure that postgraduates, teachers, are paid correctly and that they're given the proper support and proper training. And perhaps, if they don't want to teach, they don't actually have to, but that it's a really important skill for them to have and it's really valuable.
Thank you. And to Joe.
Oh, Erica, you did have to come for my hust. As I said the other day when I came down to the PG board to speak to you all, I think it's unacceptable the way that the university keeps treating postgrad students like cash cows, basically. You pay through the nose to be here, you pay ridiculous prices for your accommodation in grad college, and it's not acceptable. I've always been a proponent of a living wage. I think we should be a living wage as a union for a start. Lancaster City Council are now living wage employers. And I think as a university that's something we have to push for as well. We can't be paying people less than a minimum wage to do all of the teaching and grunt work that most senior lecturers can't be asked to do.
Thank you. Our next question is from Charlie, please. Put your hand up, Charlie, behind you. There we are.
Hi. One second, I've written it down. This question's for Joe. You're working off the manifesto of a change that you can see. I'd like to know, in the role that you currently hold as CCO Democracy, what have you done that's changed anything that we can actually see?
Okay. As CCO Democracy, I've been involved in the constitutional reviews for elections, bylaws. That means that I've actually stopped, as part of Union Council, stopped people being able to come up and bother you during this election in the Sugar House, something I'm sure most people would think is a positive thing. I'm still on the Constitutional Review Committee. We're looking continuously at the makeup of Union Council and the way the union works. And I'm looking to bring back, once we get to that meeting, faculty reps. That's a change you'll see.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Simi.
Didn't work. Oh, hello. Just a quick well done to all of you so far. You're all doing great. This is to everyone, but I'm going to aim it at Ellie. There is this common idea that people in LUSU are a clique, and even though I enjoy them all, other people might not particularly. So what I wanted to ask was, how do you feel, Ellie, being outside of the LUSU clique, for want of a better term? You all know what it means. How do you feel that that's going to either help or hinder you as your role that hopefully you'll get? Thanks.
Okay, that's to Ellie.
I think there is a problem that LUSU, FTOs and the whole LUSU system is removed from the general student body. And it means that a lot of the time, the information isn't entirely accessible. Everyone that I've spoken to have been amazing, but there's probably information that I've had to look harder to find out because I've not been friends with all the people all throughout, but then you could say that's my fault that I haven't been fully involved with everything all the way through. But I do think that there is a distance and that needs to be worked on, and I think I'm in the prime position to notice this difference from an outside perspective and do something about it.
Thank you. Right, I've got written down that Richard has a question and Matt has a question. And I think then we're going to call it a day. And Steve? And Steve, and then we're going to call it a day. Yep. So Richard first, please. Far corner on the right.
Thank you. I have two questions, if that's all right, Libby. The first one is for everybody, and it's kind of a broad, sweeping statement which I want you to address. Academic officers in colleges don't work, and we should get rid of them. What's your opinion on that?
Thank you, and that's to Ellie first, please.
As I said in my hust, it's an area that needs to be addressed. I think they can play a really valuable role. I just think it needs to be established in every JCR exactly what academic officers do and what their remit is, because I think there's a time when, from speaking to academic officers, if people tend to have any issues, even if they're academic, then they go to welfare. And there seems to be a space where they don't really know what role they're playing. So I think they can have a really valuable contribution, because people really rely on their colleges for advice, but it needs to be established what they do.
Thank you. And Joe?
Having been to a meeting the other week about improving feedback, I've found that actually there are quite a few academic officers who are quite good. I disagree completely that their college role isn't right. I think actually what they need is a proactive FTO to support them.
Thank you, and to Dan.
As JCR President, one of the things which came to me at the end of my term was the Students' Union came to us and told us that each college needed to have a separate academic officer. What we did in the end was we put academic and we made academic and welfare together. This is because at the time I didn't think there was as much for academic officer to do from previous years. However, I do agree with Joe that working with an FTO who will work with the academic officers will make them a lot better.
Thank you. And your second question, Richard?
So you're the candidate who's never held an officer position, which I think is really refreshing for the FTO candidates. So, yeah, woo it. So my question is, how do you think that being outside of the officer structure puts you in a better position than your candidates, your competition?
I think, again, what I touched upon with the distance between LUSU and the general student body, I had rarely anything to do with LUSU in my first 2 years. In fact, I don't know who were FTOs in my first year. I'm going to just say that. And in my second year, the Law Society exec was actually anti-LUSU. I wasn't, I was part of it, but it meant I had little to do with it. And I think from that experience, I can tell that there needs to be more awareness and there needs to be more communication between FTOs on a ground level with departments and departmental society and all the bodies that I spoke to, so people actually know who they are and what they do, and that they do actually have a great role. Because speaking to all the FTOs, they're all lovely and they're so helpful, but if you don't get past that barrier, then you aren't going to find that out and you aren't going to get the information you need.
Joe has a comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to just come in on this. I mean, it is very fashionable to trash people in LUSU and focus on the FTOs as an awful thing, but the JCR execs that you all have organise your events, CCOs, we're all volunteers. We do this for members. I mean, I know it is always fun to say LUSU's no good and they're useless and they do nothing for us, and how refreshing it is that Ellie's not an officer, and I agree, it's really great that someone else is running, but it should be remembered, you know, we are volunteers, we're doing this to help people. I don't think it's such a big stick to beat us with, if I'm honest, Richard.
Thank Thank you. Matt's next.
Good evening. Oh, slide. This is a question for all the candidates. I was just wondering, how do you guys feel about the current level of support on offer for students with learning difficulties, like dyslexia? And do you think that there's anything more that you could add?
If that question could go to Joe first, please.
Yeah, currently the system for dyslexia, as an example, is you do a quick test online, the university evaluate you and take you in. That's a quite expensive process in itself, and it gets 70% subsidies from the government. There will be government cuts to access to learning funds that mean that subsidy will go. I don't know where the money will come from unless we lobby the university to provide it for its students, and we're talking hundreds of pounds. This is a lot of money. And unless we have someone who's active and aware of that fact, then we're going to have a lot of trouble for students with learning difficulties in the future.
Thank you. And to Dan?
As Joe mentioned, there is probably going to be cuts to funding to the university. The current system, there is decent support given to students, for example, with dyslexia. They are given equipment to help them, so the support at the moment is good, but we just need to make sure that this support carries on. It's unacceptable to not have any support for people with learning difficulties.
Thank you. And to Ellie?
I think there needs to be financial help for people with learning difficulties, because otherwise you're just penalising people for something which is out of their control. I think, again, there's a general lack of awareness. I think I got an email about 2 weeks ago saying where to go and have a test, if you were concerned about having dyslexia. But before that, I didn't know where to go. And I think a lot of students wouldn't know. And I know that you can go speak to your welfare officers, there's a lot of people you can go and talk to about it. But I do think generally there's a lack of awareness about where the support is.
Thank you. Steve?
This question is for all candidates. You've all kind of talked about department reps, faculty reps, etc., and what I want you to do is just kind of round that up and say how you'd feed them in with academic societies or democratic structures or JCRs and things like that, and how you envisage the future of the department rep system and how it should look.
Okay, if I could go to Dan first, please.
Okay, department reps need to obviously all be on academic council. Faculty reps need to come back to LUSU council. The advertising for department reps needs to be improved. At the moment, it's just a poster with a person on saying be a department rep. It doesn't tell you what you're actually doing as a department rep. As I mentioned, the department rep conference needs to be at the beginning of the year, not midway through the year, and it needs to be something like WOC Week, which is Winter Officer Conference, where there's a lot of effort is put into it, and it also it isn't on a Saturday, on a more accessible day for more students.
Thank you. And then to Ellie, please.
I think department reps do need to be more integrated into departmental societies, but I know there are reps within societies. There's one for every departmental society, so it is sort of on there, but I do think there needs to be communication between the two, because there's no point everyone going to different points of communication to say the same thing to. Obviously agree with them back on LUSU Council. With the board thing, where there's an actual awareness of who your student reps are, and I think there also needs to be some level of reporting to make sure that people are aware who their student rep is and that they're actually doing something to engage with their degree programme, and it's not just something people are putting on their CV. I went to the student rep
time.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Joe?
Right, yeah, so we do need faculty reps back on Union Council, but we also need, of course, department reps to feel valued enough to be part of academic council and turn up. We need to stop making it feel like a subsystem and an afterthought. It's part of the strategic plan that we've outlined. But as well, there needs to be a forum and a space for postgraduate teachers to be able to air their frustrations and their views with the faculties. I think that's something that's not done often enough, or they're not given a clear enough way to do that. The postgraduate board is great. It's great for grad college to finally feel like it has a voice for the first time since I've been here, and we need to mobilise postgraduate students to be able to air their frustrations where and when.
Okay, thank you. Final question for candidates from Twitter then. It can be said that department reps aren't fulfilling their potential, and many people, including department reps, don't know that faculty reps even exist. How do you plan to restructure the department and course rep structures so that it's more effective and well organised? And if that could go to Ellie first, please.
Again, general lack of awareness. I think few people know who their faculty rep is, and with the whole communication thing that I'm pushing and awareness, I think faculty reps needs to be top of the priority, and that they actually have more regular communication with the departmental reps, and that they're utilising each other, so they're passing on the same message and the same communications, because faculty reps are the people that are taking it to the top, as it were.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, the main problem is it feels, as I've said, a bit like they've got no clout. You know, it's like there's something that we thought up afterwards, after the JCRs and everything else, and couldn't really be bothered to put much effort in. It's not good enough. We need an FTO that has that is proactive enough to give them a voice, to make that voice useful, and to use them to shape courses in Lancaster. We can't just rely on the National Student Survey. I think course reps need to organise forums where we can actually have accountable feedback on how courses run.
Thank you. And finally to Dan.
I think it all comes down to the training they receive. Again, department rep conference was great, but it was only a few weeks ago. A lot of effort and funding, I think, needs to go into this, because it is important that your department reps are knowledgeable about who's in their department, and who the faculty rep is, and also feel like they are more part of the Students' Union and know how to represent their students.
Thank you very much. So that's the end of the Vice President Education Husts. Congratulations, all candidates.